Hello and welcome to TechFunnel.com's interview series. My name is Danny White, and today we have the opportunity to talk to Maren Hogan. Maren is a seasoned marketer, writer, and business builder in the human resources and recruiting industry. Founder and CEO of Red Branch Media, an agency offering marketing strategy and outsourcing and thought leadership to HR and recruiting technology and services organizations internationally, Hogan is a consistent advocate of next-generation marketing techniques. She has built successful online communities, deployed brand strategies, and been a thought leader in the global recruitment and talent space. You can read more of her work on Forbes, Business Insider, Entrepreneur, and on the Red Branch Media blog. Welcome, Maren. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you came to launch your own company, Red Branch Media.
Sure. Yeah. So I was always interested in marketing, actually creative writing. But once I realized my oldest son was on the way, I decided to switch from creative writing, which is creative, but not that lucrative. So my advisor said, how about advertising? And I said, sure, sounds good. So I changed my major there and I started working mostly in finance, did some nonprofit PR. And then at some point after my third kiddo was born, my father-in-law built a recruiting firm. That was in 2008, which is a really terrible time to build a recruiting firm. And as their business development person, it was a big sort of blow for all of us. However, what that did do was a great time to be getting into social media and community building. And so that's where I ended up. I realized I love the world of HR, I love the world of recruiting, and I just sort of stayed there. After a while, I came into quite a few marketing roles, whether it was a chief marketing officer or a VP of marketing, brought a lot of really fun products into the US, was able to build communities and really get behind the personas, the people, I guess, in HR and recruiting and figure out what their troubles were. And for me, understanding people's problems is like the very first key to marketing. So after I'd done a few of those positions, I realized I just loved working with all different kinds of companies and solving all kinds of different problems, which is how Red Branch was born. And I certainly intended to stay at home with my kids, do social and consulting and content. I did not think it was going to be an agency. However, being based in Omaha, Nebraska, and being in a very niche market where there's pretty much 3 to 4 other agencies doing precisely what we do worldwide, we grew really, really fast because we're a value, right? Because of where we're located. And there's also very little competition. So now there's 35 of us. We're growing today. Like I said, we're onboarding 4 new people just today.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so I'm really enjoying it. We're completely full service now. And I never intended to launch my own company per se, but it's been an amazing ride and I'll never regret it.
That's incredible. How did you come up with the name Red Branch? Does it have like a special meaning behind it?
It does, and the story is on my website. It's actually pretty funny. So when I was pregnant with my third, I had to drive a lot all the time, and I was driving to preschool to pick up my 2 older boys, and we were really, really poor at the time. And I loved Pottery Barn, and they were selling like this. It was basically a branch, right, that someone had painted, and it was like $129. And I was like, I'm not paying $129 for something. So I'm heavily pregnant in this giant minivan, and I see a branch by the side of the road. And I was like, yes, I can. That's a great branch. It's got great shape. Well, of course, things from the car seem a lot smaller than they are when you get there. So in the end, you see this very pregnant Maren trying to shove this huge, it was basically a tree at this point, over my kids' heads, like, duck, kids, it's fine, whatever. So I get home and I haul it in, and I saw off all of the extraneous stuff that was too big and spray painted it red. And so when I started Red Branch, we worked with a lot of startups, still do. And the key was, like, you can pay a lot of money for something, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Or you can find a scrappy person that knows how to do it and get it done with fewer resources, with less of a runway, with a tinier budget, that sort of thing. And I just feel like that's something that I've always been good at. It's a driving ethos of our firm. Value is a big part of what we do. So that's kind of the meaning behind it.
Wow. So that definitely comes through on your website and through your blog content. I really love the vibe of your agency. So how do you really stand out in a seemingly overpopulated world of marketing and advertising?
Well, I think, the first thing is it is overpopulated, obviously. However, in the very specific niche that we're in, we do have a pretty great space to play in. Obviously, when you only work on one type of thing, you tend to get very, very good at that type of thing.
Right.
So that's one way. Another way is we do strategy and we come up with ideas, but we're more than just idea people. We actually do the work. And I think the overpopulated world of marketing is full of a lot of strategists, and that's not necessarily what companies need right now. What they need is for somebody to take care of the problem. And so we take care of the problem.
That's awesome. What's the number one mistake that you see B2B marketers making in the HR space?
I think it's a mistake that I personally made in the beginning as well, which is, and I just said it at the beginning of this interview where I said personas instead of people. So selling in the B2B space is totally different than B2C. I tell every new hire that we have how different it is, and I need them to understand that before they come to work for me. However, it's still people buying it. People are still buying what you're selling. And I do think that gets forgotten. In fact, I almost think it's more important to get inside their heads from a B2B perspective, because for example, when we're selling or marketing a $250,000 HRIS to somebody inside of a company, right? They might make $80,000. They're having to make a $250,000 decision for their company. And if they're wrong, because my marketing steered them wrong, or if they're wrong because they didn't check the implementation problem, their job could be on the line at the very worst. And at the very least, they could be living with their poor choice for 4 to 5 to 8 years. So I think understanding that people are really the ones behind these decisions and realizing, that's the first thing we ask in our buyer persona. What keeps them up at night? What keeps you up at night about your job, right? It's the same thing with anybody's job. It's like, is this the right move? Should I have asked this question? Do I need to do this before I sign? That sort of thing. So I think B2B marketers often remove the person and the emotion and the feeling from the decision, when in B2B it can be more important than anything.
Absolutely. And a lot of this rolls over into this big discussion of data and how we use it, to how we implement it in our daily work. With HR tech, how does data play a role in helping, B2B marketers make their decisions and even some of your clients make their decisions?
Yeah, so I think data is a really vast term. And for so long, marketers, myself included, my team included, we just went over it today. What's the difference between data and metrics and analytics and KPIs and insights and dashboards? And so, and each one does have a very specific definition, but we often use them synonymously. So I think data will play a substantial role in HR tech when somebody can deliver in plain English what we've been throwing at them. It's almost like drinking from a fire hose. The HR pro is going, okay, I pay these people over here this much, and I've got this location opening in this region over here, and I need to follow these compliance statutes. Like, there's just so many things that they have to kind of keep a head on or a grip on, and offering them more data points without any insight or any context isn't helping. So what will play a substantial role is not the data, but the ability to understand, interpret, and act on the data.
Awesome. So with the rise of new technologies and changes in social and in mobile, how have you seen the recruiting space just shaped and molded and changed even over the past couple of years, especially when it comes to candidates and recruiters and how they both look at each other?
I think that's a fantastic question. One of the things that I've been saying for a long time, when I first got into the space, 10, 15 years ago, I don't want to date myself.
Mm-hmm.
It was moving from job boards to profiles, right? So we were seeing more of the candidate. We were able to recruit passive candidates using social. We were able to reach more candidates using mobile. But the thing is, you can't find a needle in a haystack by making a bigger haystack. Right. And that's what we've been doing for a really long time. It's like, oh, I have 256 million profiles on this thing. And oh, I have 870,000 profiles on this database. It's like, those are great. But we've been looking at recruiting as a funnel. And I have a really good friend named Chris Hoyt at Career Crossroads. And he said something a long time ago that appealed to me. He's like, it's not a funnel, it's a sieve. And so we really don't necessarily need to get 1,000 people at the top of the funnel to narrow down to 10.
Right.
It's kind of like account-based marketing, right? But for recruiting. And we need to focus on the people who actually fit the bill instead of just trying to throw stuff at the wall to see what sticks in the hopes. And that's born out of desperation. So it's going to happen again, right? We're going to see this rise of, hey, more clients, more candidates, more resumes, more profiles, more this, because people are desperate, because the economy is or the workforce is tight, right? It's hard to find people. It's hard to find qualified people. It's hard to get them to stay. So people get desperate. And that's what's going to happen. But I think what needs to happen is for us to slow down and say, okay, when we're looking at candidates, more is not better. And when candidates are looking at recruiters, they're going to feel the same exact way, because when you feel like you're 1 out of 1,000, you don't feel special. You don't feel like you're the only one that can fulfill that mandate, that can do that job. You don't feel like the company needs you at all. You just feel like a number. And so I think taking a step back, breathing, same with candidates, right? Don't apply to every stinking job you see, right? You're in the driver's seat right now. So take some time, apply to the one that you know that you're right for, and then follow up. And the same exact message for recruiters. Take the time, find the one you know is right for the role, and then keep following up. It takes 7 touches to reach people from a marketing standpoint. How long it takes to reach a candidate? Just as, if not longer.
Interesting. So you've been running Red Branch Media now for almost a decade. What do you like most about running your own company?
Oh, I think it changes and shifts. I think in the beginning, the thing I liked most was the fact that it was mine, right? It was. I was the boss. I was the CEO. I had been number 2 for so long. Being number 1 was a bit intoxicating. But I would say today, what I like the most is really trying to impart wisdom. Sounds like I think I'm like an Old Testament prophet. I don't. I'm just saying, I see all these young people that work with me and for me, and I think, oh man, that's how old I was when I started in this space. Like I really want to help them get it, because it took so long for me to get it. And I love when I see that light in their eyes, that it has clicked for them. They do understand. And as much as it hurts to watch people walk away, I have kind of a mandate, or not mandate. I have a little bit of a mantra where it's like, lead them to leave you. Eventually they're going to leave you, right? Like when you hire a lot of young people, it's their first job, and hardly anyone stays with their first job their whole life.
Absolutely.
So if I lead them well enough so that they can leave me and have it be the launch point of their career, to have it be an incredible learning experience where it really did shape who they are as a marketer and as a person. That's kind of, I think, my favorite thing.
Cool. There's a balance between being creative and focusing on getting the job done. How do you keep your team motivated and empowered to be creative and be innovative with your clients, but at the same time focus on meeting each of the clients' needs?
That is such a good question, because I talk about taking my hands off the wheel, right? So when I travel a lot and I'm doing a lot of speaking and a lot of consulting on the road, I feel like sometimes I ignore my employees and they have to shoulder a lot of the burden. And then I have to come back and then I focus really a lot on my employees and make sure that they feel okay. And then the clients feel ignored. So it's really a constant balancing act. So you happen to call on the third Monday of the month. And that's the day we do campaigns. And so today, we're sitting there, we are brainstorming about everything under the sun for every client we have. And then we share those things with the clients. However, during these meetings, we don't allow for mediocrity. We don't allow for just filling in the blanks. We don't allow for just, here you go. I think I'm going to design, 2 brochures and a business card. And I think I'm going to write 5 blog posts and whatever. It's like, no, that's not what we're here for. We're here to really push the envelope, no matter how difficult the client is, no matter how complicated the solution is, no matter how frustrating the lead goal is. We're still here to really be focused. And I was just telling somebody earlier today, there is a difference between happy employees and engaged employees. An engaged employee is always going to be productive. They are always going to be pushing the company forward in some way, even if the fact that they're complaining about it. A happy employee, not necessarily, right? A happy employee can be happy and mediocre, and they can be happy and content, and that's not somebody who's being creative. So it's a really huge balancing act. We focus a lot on recognition here, just saying, hey man, you did an awesome job, or hey, I'm so impressed with that article you wrote. We give proud ofs every Friday. We tell people why we're proud of them and for what specifically, and that really does keep people pumped to come in the next week and again give their best all over again. It's really hard to ask people to give their best every single week. 100% is hard to give 100% of the time.
Awesome. So how do you tell the difference between being happy with being mediocre and then not being happy until you're productive and you're pushing that envelope, as you call it?
Right. So don't misunderstand. An engaged employee can be a happy employee, but a happy employee is not always engaged. So how do I tell the difference? Well, first of all, you asked about client goals, right? If we're not hitting them, and it's very clear because of the size of our agency, who isn't hitting their goals and when and why, then we know that they're not being productive, and then we try and drill down as to why. Sometimes that does have to do with an unhappiness with their role, whether it's not the right role or they want to advance, whether there's a client mismatch, whatever it is. So that's one piece. If we drill down farther and find out that, they're perfectly happy here, they're just not giving us their best, then that's a bit of a performance issue, and we have to figure out how to get them to be engaged. The world is full of talented people. My mom used to say it's 90% or it's 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration. And as much as I rolled my eyes, I think she might have been right. People have good ideas all the time. There are talented people out there all over the place. There are even fewer hard workers.
Awesome. Maren, thank you so much for joining us today. Hope you and your team keep up the awesome work in marketing and advertising in the HR space. Really do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Guys, thanks for listening to this interview. For these and other interviews and topics, please visit us at techfunnel.com. You can connect with us across social on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, and subscribe to our weekly newsletter so you can stay up to date on everything that's happening in the industry.